You know what? There is no intro for this video. That says it all. Now, this is part 2 of my, my Hard Justice and Summerslam, debate on which one is going to be better or whatnot. And I was about to do my SummerSlam one, and then I watched Impact. Now, I was a TNA fan, when it first started. It was like, something new. I thought you were going to have like a reasonable alternative to the WWE. And that's what it promised its fans. But now I'm looking at this pay-per-view here, trying to be unbiased, and I'm not trying to view it as match by match. I'm trying to view it as some sort of event. Like, how is this pay-per-view going to do as an event? Because, match by match could have a sucky idea and a sucky this and that. But, if the event makes it, the event makes it. But I'm looking at the event here, and it's not much of an event. This pay-per-view, if you can call it that, it's a gimmick pay-per-view. It's like not even trying to be a reasonable alternative. It's just trying to gimmick. And I'm looking at all these matches. You got Eric Young. I do not see one normal match here of the big ones. I do not see one normal match here, except maybe the tag team match between the Dudley Boys and the Steiner Brothers. And Kip James and them. Those are the only normal matches. And Samoa Joe and Kurt Angle, if you want to count that one. But that's an all titles match. That's like a gimmick too. So you have Eric Young and Robert Roode in an ultimate humiliation match. Gimmick. Abyss and Christian Cage, in which Christian is probably gonna win again, keeping his unbeaten streak for the WWE Superstars in TNA. He will probably win again in a barbed wire steel cage at the top. You have to make your opponent bleed, whatever you want to call it, match. You have a Ravens House of Fun match, which I'm all for. That's pretty okay, but just gimmick. Those last two gimmicks still. And what's this other match here? Oh yeah, Rhino and James Storm in a barroom brawl match. Samoa Joe versus Kurt Angle in an every title on the line match. First time for everything, right? The fact is, why is TNA giving their fans this garbage here as an event? When you do a pay-per-view as a whole event, you're supposed to keep it flowing, You're supposed to keep their interest and things like that. You do not keep their interest by making each match have a special gimmick or a special function or a special whatever. It's like when WCW put the electric chair in the middle of the ring. What do they call it? A House of Horror match or whatever? These are stupid ideas. Why not just make... And by the way, these feuds, this is what disappoints me the most. If I had watched TNA last year, or even the beginning of this year, and I stopped watching for the last months or so, and I come back to TNA, those storylines, the same freaking storylines are still going on. Sting and Abyss is still going on. James Mitchell's going to be involved because he's going to bring in a new monster, quote unquote. Eric Young and Robert Roode are still feuding. For what reason? I don't know why. Samoa Joe and Kurt Angle have been feuding since Angle got there. And I don't get, why can't you put any new storylines in? Oh, new storyline, the Dudleys are heel. Whoop-de-doo, LAX is the good guys now. It's sad when I can, miss out on like 4 months of TNA or 5 months of TNA and come back and the same storylines are going on. Oh, and let's not forget the other guy, Pac-Man Jones coming to TNA. Oh my gosh. I'm really trying to find a way to defend this pay-per-view. I can't find any way to defend it. It shouldn't even be called Hard Justice. It should be called Gimmick Justice. And you know, when you look at the whole event, we got a bunch of matches that are potentially clusters. You have a bunch of matches that are potentially bad matches. Now I'm going to do a match by match, because looking at the event's going to suck. You know, because all these freaking gimmick matches back to back is repetitive. And TNA has their last Impact got a .99. Their last Impact sucked. Okay? And I've been waiting for TNA to become the TNA it was in 2005, where it was a reasonable alternative. They cut the BS. They're completely screwing over their X division right now. One of their things. They have a tag team division. They have an X division. They're not utilizing it. I'm seeing the same guys from WWE, WCW. I'm seeing the same guys from WWE, WCW main eventing in the main event status for tag teams. I don't see Lethal and Sanjay Dutt in the main event, and they're two of the biggest talents TNA has. I don't see Triple X in the main event, and they're a great talent. I know they're getting a push right now, but still. You have the Steiner brothers, who have not been together or chemistry in the last 2 years. You have Scott Steiner, who just came off of a surgery, and we do not know how he is mentally. He hasn't even had a comeback match yet. We don't know how he is mentally. He could be good, he could be bad. We don't know how Rick Steiner is now either. And the Dudley Boys are getting up there in age, and you know, they can perform, but you know, this match has Botchamania written all over it, alright? Especially when I watched and the Kip James, if LAX and them were fighting other Kip James at the last Impact proved my point. That him and Road Dogg are doing the bare minimum for TNA until their contracts run out. And you know, the only match I'm looking forward to is Joe and Angle. That's it. The whole event is just I don't even have a word for it. It's just gimmick justice. Hard to watch justice is what it should be called, man. You know, TNA, when they first started, their pay-per-views were wonderful. That's what made them so great. Their pay-per-views were wonderful. But now their pay-per-views can't even do better than the shows, in terms of what they got. Man, I am speechless on this as I'm saying this, because I never thought I'd say it about TNA, and I'm trying to be unbiased here, but when I'm looking at what's in front of me, there's not much left I can say. Except that it's going down the drain. And you TNA fans need to demand a lot better. That's all I gotta say for right now. I will say one more thing though before I go. If you want an example on one of the reasons why I think TNA is going down the drain, and look at your two main eventing tag teams right now. Your two main eventing tag teams, the Steiner brothers and Road Dogg and Kip James. Alright? If you do not remember, they cut a promo in TNA not too long ago, maybe 2 Impacts ago, where they were talking about each other's accomplishments and stuff like that. Okay, it was the Steiner brothers, the Dudley Boys, Kip James, and Road Dogg cutting a promo in a TNA ring not too long ago about their accomplishments in the world of wrestling. They never mentioned TNA in terms of their accomplishments. The Steiner brothers were bragging about how they won titles from a real organization, WCW, that was beating WWF in ratings back then. Things like that. And you had Road Dogg and Billy Gunn bragging that they had won the WWF tag team titles and were on top of the world while they were doing it. Then you have the Dudley Boys come out and talk about how much credence the ECW championship belt, tag team belts happened. Neither one of the teams, not the Dudley Boys, not Kip James and Road Dogg, mentioned the TNA belt as part of their accomplishment. None of them. They just talked about the big three. They talked about WCW, and they talked about the WWF, and they talked about ECW. They talked about all those different things there. Not much did they mention TNA. And you know, it's not going to help your credibility, TNA, if your 3 main tag teams that you have right now that are your quote-unquote main eventers are there preaching about the other organizations and how great they were and how great their titles are. That's not going to help TNA one bit. That's your main guys. How would you feel if Goldberg came on TNA talking about how much credence the WCW belt holds, how much credence the WWE belt holds, or if Chris Jericho or Rob Van Dam talked about his ECW belts? It doesn't help when your TNA talent holds a TNA belt and then doesn't brag about it. They brag about other organizations' belt. It's not going to help your credibility one bit. That's all I got to say about your main eventers. And that's all I got to say about TNA. Next review is going to be SummerSlam. It'll probably be just as harsh, but we'll see. Later, y'all.